There were a couple of things I felt I would like to share today, and so we gathered in satsang, and when we were downstairs, I think Sonia asked Maria, I say, well, what is satsang? Yeah? ¿Qué es satsang? Yeah? So this word, different people might use it in slightly different ways. But sat is from the verb us, which is the verb to be, ser. El verbo ser en sánscrito, sat, es una forma nominativa de este verbo. So sat means that which is. So sometimes it gets translated in English as truth, but it means it's true in the sense that it exists, that it is, that it's real. And sang means to join, to come together. So satsang basically means to come together to explore what is. So anytime we have some type of gathering, or we interact with something in an explorative way, in a way to explore what really is, we could call it satsang. So you could be on a walk with your friend, and you're talking about what's really up for you in your life, and this is satsang. Or we could come together and do a particular type of exercise which has the aim of helping us understand what is more closely. You could call this satsang. Often it's used when people come together to share teachings about understanding ultimate reality. And it can include singing, it can include talking, it can include silence, it can include sharing many activities. So for me, one of the things that I really value in satsang is that I think it's important to talk about what is. Like a lot of the time, people talk about all sorts of things that stop us really noticing. So for me, one of the basic teachings of yoga, did I mention this the other day about the green cross code? No. So I didn't mention it the other day, but it was before I got here. So everybody here is familiar with yoga asana, yeah? You know this word asana? So I also want to say, if at any point you don't understand, please stop me and say, yeah? And it's absolutely fine, okay? So asana, it literally means seat, asiento, yeah? And you would probably know in the world today there are some people who are really into asana, yeah? And one time I was in India and one of my teachers, he was giving a satsang talk and he said, you have to remember, asana is just kindergarten. You know the kindergarten where the young children go to school? And he wasn't saying that asana was something infantile. He wasn't saying that it was something you should grow out of. That's not how I understood it. What I understood was he was saying that asana is not the end. But it's a useful thing to help us learn the foundational teachings or the foundational principles that can help us the whole length of our journey. Because if we go to a good kindergarten, hopefully we will learn things that can help us the whole of our life. Yeah? So there was once, I've seen it on a dish towel, all the important things in life you learn in kindergarten about sharing and being nice and stuff like this. But when I was at what they call in England, the infant school, the first school, one thing I learned was called the Green Cross Code. Do you have the Green Cross Code in Australia? In Spain? So the Green Cross Code is basically how to cross the road safely. Yeah? Como atravesar el calle, you know? And sometimes in yoga, people talk about life as a journey. There are many roads to cross. Would you agree? So if we know how to cross the roads, well, it's a good foundation. Yeah? Now the Green Cross Code in England, it's got a slightly longer form, but its most basic form is 3 words. Stop, look, and listen. So you come to the edge of the road, you stop, and then you look both ways and you listen, yeah? And this is yoga. This is the foundational teachings in yoga. In the Bhagavad Gita, which is one of the, we might say, foundational teachings in yoga, the teachings begin when the student stops. He doesn't know what to do. He's confused because the ways he has always relied on up to that point, they don't seem adequate for the situation he finds himself in. But he's very lucky. He is with Krishna, and Krishna is able to, so he turns to Krishna and says, I don't know what to do. I'm your student. Give me your shelter. And so very importantly, when he says, I don't know, yoga can then begin. And this is one of the ways we could say, when does yoga happen? When can yoga happen? When we own and acknowledge that we don't know. When we own and acknowledge that, okay, I'm not in yoga. I'm not quite fully individual. I'm not quite fully integrated. Sometimes I do things that really I don't want to do. Sometimes, have you had the experience, one day you go to bed, tomorrow I will get up at this time, and I will do this, this, this and this tomorrow. And you're very clear and resolute that you will do this, this, this and this tomorrow. But somehow in the morning, it's like a different you wakes up, who has no interest in doing those things. Have you experienced this? Yeah? So what does this tell us? Somehow we're not quite completely integrated. Yeah? Now I don't know, I know that you're a bit younger than me, but so Steve and Jessie from Australia, yeah? Now growing up as I did in England in the 1980s, some of the most well-known celebrities were Australian soap stars and pop singers. And there was one big hit by an Australian songstress called Natalie Imbruglia. What is her biggest hit? Nothing's right, I'm torn. Yeah. Yeah. So we feel torn sometimes, yeah? Have you had this experience? Like part of you wants to go here, another part of you is like, no, I want to go over here. Another part is like, never mind there and there, let's just stay here. Have you had this experience? So when we have this experience, it shows us, I'm not quite fully integrated. And so the idea is when we acknowledge that, then we create space to do something about it. And yoga is the practical means to do something about it, to foster harmony and unity in this reality that we're experiencing. But if we just keep racing on, maybe we don't give ourselves space to invite a different way from what we've already been doing. Does that make sense? Because often in life, we are creatures of habit. Yeah? We just operate sometimes on autopilot. Have you ever noticed this? A certain situation arises and you go into response, or this situation, this response. Yeah? Thinking of another 1980s pop song. You remember Madonna? Yeah? One of her biggest hits in the, well, she had a lot, yeah, was Get Into the Groove. Yeah? Now, when I was a boy and I bought a record, yeah? Does everybody know what one is? Yeah. Yeah. And you put the needle in the groove. If you've got a Madonna record on the turntable and you put the needle on, what are you going to hear? Madonna. I might hope to hear Bob Marley, but if it's a Madonna LP on the turntable and the needle hits the groove, I'm just going to hear the same old song. And if I want to change the song, what do I need to do? I have to lift the needle off carefully, remove it, remove the record, and put another one on. It's not just a swipe of the thumb. I have to make an effort to change the record. And the same idea in yoga is we are creatures of habit. So if we want to change the habit, if we recognize that my habits have allowed me to be not quite a completely integrated individual. They've allowed me to be this person who is a little bit split, a little bit torn, a little bit fragmented. We have to change our habits. So stopping is the first stage, to stop and look. So the first imperative verb in the Bhagavad Gita is pasha. Say pasha.
Pasha.
And pasha means, can you guess?
To look.
Look. And the first imperative verb in the Aditya Hridayam, which is the hymn I sing in the mornings to the sun, it's like the Gita, it's a hymn of instruction. The first imperative verb is shrinu. Can you guess what shrinu means? Listen, hear, yeah? So stop, look, listen. This is where yoga begins. We pause and we check. Am I really being alert and attentive with all parts of myself? And so that is in a satsang, we are putting the emphasis on really being present. So sat, it means also presence, that which is here, existing, real. So when we invite ourselves to be fully present, we can look and listen, perhaps seeing a little bit more broadly, or subtly, or deeply, than when we're just running in our engrooved patterns. Yeah? That makes sense. So satsang is a really important part of yoga, because yoga recognizes when we're a human being, we've only got these two eyes. So there's always more that we cannot see than we can. Is this true? Can we even see all of ourselves? Yeah? There's more that we cannot see than we can. When we gather in a circle, we all have a unique perspective. So if in the middle of the circle, the bottle represents truth, ultimate reality, the essence. We each have a unique perspective on it. When we come together and we can share those perspectives, then we can find out more about ourselves. Yeah? So this is what satsang is, basically.